Hello and welcome to this Train Sim World news video where we can stop finally speculating and confirm the announcement of Train Sim World 4. It was just announced today at the Dovetail Direct event, so we're going to be diving into what Train Sim World 4 means for us as the community. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do, please consider hitting that like button and also subscribing. It really is appreciated. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump in to see what's going to come with Train Sim World 4. So as ever, I think we'll keep it at a top level in terms of what the routes are, a little bit of detail about them, and I believe Dovetail will be releasing a lot more detail in the coming days and weeks, which we will of course dive into. But as ever with a big release like this, we get three core routes that come with the release, and we'll dive straight into them because that's what we're really interested in. So the first one that we will dive straight into is the S-Bahn Vorarlberg, Lindau to Bludenz. Apologies for the pronunciation. And this is quite notable in that it's going to be our first route in Austria, but it does border into Germany. This route is 44 miles long, or 70 kilometers. It'll have 28 stations, so it'll feel like a real commuter kind of feeling to it. And it will be the first time that we will have featured OBB as a train operator in Train Sim World. So that's pretty cool to have a new train operator. The route will come with the Talent 1, which you can see in front on the screen at the moment. And yeah, that's looks pretty nice, I have to say. Nice looking livery. Obviously, with this route being sort of on the border of Austria and Germany, you've got the border crossing that will happen between the two countries, and it's very much set in the scenic mountains of Austria. So I think this should be some pretty nice scenery to take a look at. So that's very much the first route that's coming with Train Sim World 4. We've got some nice shots of it here. You can start to see some of that mountainous scenery, and even greater there, the snow on the top of the mountains there look very, very nice. I'm very pleased with this route. I think it'll be something a little bit different to have a border crossing, and of course to have another country also included in the Train Sim World franchise is always a big plus. So I don't mind this one. This one's gets a thumbs up from me. We then have the next one, which is for our US friends, and that is the Antelope Valley line, so Los Angeles to Lancaster. And again, we've got another new operator for Train Sim World in the form of Metrolink, as you can see. This route is 76.5 miles long, or 123 kilometers. It'll have 13 stations, and it will feature, as you can see in front of us right now, the F125 locomotive. So again, we've got a new locomotive, a new operator. I like that. The way that it was described at the Dovetail Direct event was this is kind of a cross between Cajon Pass and Peninsula Corridor. So it'll very much have a feel of, I guess that, steep gradients that we very much know on Cajon Pass, but also with passenger activity. So I think that should offer quite a diverse gameplay, which is good, I think. Obviously, it'll be interesting to obviously get to grips with it once it is finally released. And it's also just worth noting that the Vista Canyon station that's due to be actually opened in real life will also be featured in the game. So that is Antelope Valley line. As you can see, we've got some nice pictures here of the loco and the cab car, the Rotom cab car that you'll be able to drive, which looks, it's obviously dual level, looks pretty nice. And then I've snuck into the big one. For me personally, being based in the UK, this is the one that always piques my interest, and it's the East Coast Main Line. And let's be honest, the East Coast Main Line has been so highly requested by the community. It's great to see it finally in the game. That said, I think the portion of the East Coast Main Line that they've chosen is somewhat controversial in that I think most people would have preferred the southern element, perhaps from, say, King's Cross to Peterborough, or perhaps from York North or towards Edinburgh, that type of those kind of areas, which is why I think there was a little bit of shock in the chat when I was watching that Dovetail Direct event, and I think I was equally shocked. I think my initial reaction was, since the release of the Class 700, it would be kind of an obvious fit to put or if it was going to be East Coast Mainline, it would be from King's Cross to Peterborough, so you get that additional layering in of the 700. But hey, here we are. This is what we've got, and now this will be the longest route in the UK for Train Sim World 3, being 80 miles long or 128 kilometres. It's going to be 5 stations, so this is it's going to be a very different to kind of what we've experienced before in the UK for Train Sim World. As I say, it's going to be the longest high-speed main line, and it will feature the only flat crossing left in the UK. So flat crossing where 2 sets of track go across each other, just for those who don't know. And as it's kind of said, that we'll have various different stopping patterns included in the timetable, and you'll also get the layers of the Class 700 as, I guess, AI only at Peterborough, because they didn't go any further than that. Also the East Midlands train Class 185. So I'm really excited about this, especially getting the Class 801. It's personally one that I've really wanted to see in the game for quite a long time, so I'm really glad it's coming. The portion of the East Coast Main Line, not what I expected, but hey, it's the East Coast Main Line. I'm sure it will be great nonetheless. So really excited for that. Here's some beautiful shots of the 801 in its LNER livery, which is fantastic. I really can't wait to get my hands on it. So then we next move into a couple of loco add-ons that were also announced. So as you can see, the LNER Class A3, or the Flying Scotsman as we more commonly know it as, will be coming with the deluxe and special edition only. We'll come on to what that means in a little bit later on. But given that it's the 100th anniversary of the Flying Scotsman, I guess they thought this was a perfect opportunity to include the Flying Scotsman to release it for Train Sim World 3, and especially given that the East Coast Main Line is also being released at this point. I guess it fitted absolutely perfectly. So we'll inevitably get some Flying Scotsman rail tours on the East Coast Main Line, which I think will actually be very cool to see. And obviously it's such an iconic loco. It's pretty special, I think, and there's some beautiful shots of it. So I'm all for this. It's great to see some more steam trains in the game, and it's looking pretty nice and pristine. There you go. You can see the Flying Scotsman right next to the Class 801. I like that. And then we move on to the final loco add-on, which is kind of the worst kept secret ever, in that this is the German locomotive that's been on the roadmap for God knows how many months. We now know officially that it is the Railpool BR 195 Vectron, and again it will come with the deluxe and special edition. So pretty cool to see. And its home route will be Dresden to Riesa, and obviously that's such a great route as it is at the moment. To have another locomotive, or certainly a freight locomotive, run on it is more than welcomed. And also worth saying, I think this will also layer onto the S-Bahn Vorarlberg. So again, that will add some additional traffic to that route, which absolutely brilliant. Along with the introduction of the Vectron for Nafeka, Dresden Riesa, it will also get an upgrade to what previously was a TSW3 feature set, so such as the volumetric weather clouds that you can see, and also the lighting as well. So it's nice to see that it's getting an upgrade. It will be a real shame to see the the beautiful night lighting on this route actually disappear. I have a sad feeling, but we'll wait and see. But it is, a fantastic route. So excited for that. And then we come into what is, I guess, the core update. What some of the core features that will come with Train Sim World 4. So let's start to work our way through. This is one that I know a lot of people have wanted for quite a while now, and that is Scenario Planner 2.0. So you can see some of the kind of headlines here. We're going to have reworked, easier to use user interfaces, which is great. Custom start times. So instead of the service that you say start at 9 o'clock, the playable service, you can now alter the times that some of the AI services will also start. So that's pretty cool. Chaining paths. So in that case, rather than just going from A to B, some of those AI services can go from A to B back to A, perhaps, something along those lines. And as we have in the timetable service, we've got portal support for AI trains. So that means trains will run off the route to other destinations rather than just having to stay in the route itself. Also got some custom weather selection, which is nice, and adds some introductory text to a scenario. So pretty sensible additions. Nice to see, I think it's fair to say. And we also then get, of course, Livery Designer 2.0. The 2.0 feels like it's going to become a little bit of a running theme here. So we're going to have reworked easier UI. Yep, cool. Livery description, undo, redo. Toggle livery usage for AI trains. Text entry, font selection, 1,000 layers, so 1,000 different decals or text applications to a loco, and additional operators and fonts. Personally, not one I use, but I can imagine for those who are very much into designing their own liveries, this sounds all very sensible, and feels like a good addition to that. And then we've got a brand new feature, and that is photo mode. Now, if you're like me, I love taking screenshots, especially for thumbnails. We've got a new mode which introduces the ability to not miss those shots. So to take that perfect shot, as it kind of says there, you pause the game, and then you've almost got sort of like it pauses everything in time, and you can try and look for that perfect angle. And you've also got filters and enhancements, so you can make it a little bit brighter, change the color saturation, perhaps change the depth of view, field of view, those types of things to really make that shot perfect. So hopefully that will up my thumbnail game even further. So that's one I'm a big fan of, actually. We've then got some improvements to Creators Club, got some easier to use user interfaces, filter based on the content you own, improve search functionalities. Now, I think this is, again, sensible updates to Creators Club. Previously used it. It can be quite challenging to find some of those liveries or scenarios based on, like you say, the content you own. You sometimes get a mixture of previously some scenarios that don't even kind of makes sense to you in terms of you don't own those routes or you don't own those locos. So I'm all for this. Again, feels very sensible. And then this is probably one that's been long overdue, is a update to the scoring. You previously in Train Sim World, you could never achieve gold. That was sometimes just impossible. But we also get the new addition of a new medal, and that is platinum. So in order to gain a platinum, you must get 90% of all the score available. Changing gold to 50% of the score, maximum possible score. Bronze 35%, silver 35%, bronze 20%. I got there eventually. But it will also introduce actually better scorings instead of just based on making sure you stop in the right place. There will also be reflects correct setup, so using headlights, wipers, braking too harshly, and coupling with too much force. So I think this will really put the focus on the driving aspect more when it comes to scoring. So again, big thumbs up from me on that update. We've got ease of access uses, so we've got the introduction of locomotive difficulty tiering. So this is essentially saying which locos are easier or harder to drive. So something like a class 323, that can be very easy to drive versus perhaps say an SD40 or on which has obviously multiple braking systems. So I think that's a good thing. Improved player assists. So if there is, if you can't get the train rolling, it will now give you some driver assist. We did see this in Train Sim World 3, but I think we'll start to see that implemented a lot further, so you can really make sure that you don't get stuck and basically can't get the train going again. So I'm all for that. We'll see a simpler HUD, which is great. Automatic coupling and yard rotating. So if you're a newer player to the game, then perhaps you're not familiar with how to couple or how to set the points. So you'll be able to set that now to automatically do that for you, which, hey, if you're a beginner, that's absolutely great, because those things can be quite daunting. We'll also see the class 323 and the 8F added to training center to give a bit more variety in terms of the training modules that can be accessed through the training center. So don't mind that. And then we've got improved key mapping for accessibility, which always want to advocate the use of. So that was a little bit of a run through. We've got the 323 there in the training center, and then we get on to some graphical weather and lighting improvements. So we will see volumetric fog. So fog will look a lot more realistic, which I think would be pretty nice, because sometimes the fog can look a bit a bit meh. So that'd be very nice to see what that looks like once implemented. Finally, improved rain on the windscreens. That can look very pixelated at times, so I'm glad that's being improved. Well, if you're a console player, especially PlayStation, you'll get haptic feedback from the controller now, and also for PlayStation exclusively, you'll get light bar and audio functionality from the controller. So if you've got a DualSense controller, you're able to take advantage of those features on the controller. So that's pretty cool. And then we've got another new feature, and that is free roam. And I think free roam is a little bit like the God mode mod that is available currently for Train Sim Community, those that are on PC, but it now brings it to everyone officially. So as it says there, you can spawn trains anywhere at any time, set the paths anywhere you like, reuse your custom created formations, and it really does mean that you can do pretty much what you like in the game. So that's pretty cool. And as it kind of says there, off the rails mode squared with a cherry on top. Yeah, it really does take that off the rails mode to the next level. So you can do some pretty crazy things, and I'm excited to get my hands on this one. So yeah, it's should look very nice. And then here's a great example of using off the mode, got free roam to just introduce all of the different locos in one place. For example, you could quickly spawn the 801 on, perhaps a random route. It's just the world is your oyster. Now, this is the one that got people really talking in the chat when this was announced, and that's PC Editor. Obviously, it's in its beta version. You can see indicated there, but what does that mean, I guess, is the question. So it'll give you access to Train Sim World's Unreal Engine 4 engine toolset, and that's the same tools that their teams use to create gameplay, trains, and even routes. So I think this will give, certainly in the modding community, a huge step forward in what they're be able to do, because at the moment I believe they just use the unofficial editor, which is nothing like what I think this will bring, and there'll be additional updates to improve what's available. At the moment it's only PC only via the Epic Game Store, but I think that'll be amazing to see what potentially could be created using this. So Yeah, and I think it also, as they said on the live stream, I think it gives easy access for perhaps third parties who are considering becoming part of the partner program. So I think this is only a positive thing. Yeah, I'm all for this. And now I mentioned the bundles a little bit earlier on, and you can see here that we'll have the standard edition, the deluxe and special edition. We'll quickly run through what this all means and the prices. So for the standard edition, you'll get, as ever, the training centre, along with Antelope Valley, East Coast Main Line, and Vorarlberg for $39.99, $49.99, and €44.99. There will be discounts available, which I think I'll step down a little bit, up to 25%. So it's quite significant discounts. We then have the deluxe edition, which is £52.99, $69.99, and €64.99. And that includes Training Centre, Antelope Valley, East Coast Main Line, Vorarlberg, the Flying Scotsman, Dresden Reeser, if you don't already own it, and also Vectron, the Vectron. So you'll get 5 pieces of content there, which is pretty cool, actually. Especially if you're picking up a 25% discount as well. I don't think that's too bad a value. And then the special edition, which is everything that's contained within the deluxe edition, but 4 Train Sim World routes to go with it. And I believe they are Lincoln Rheinstrecke, Southeastern High Speed, LGV Mediterranean, and the other one's going to escape me, and it doesn't say in here. I'll insert it if I remember. So that comes to the price of £89.99, $109.99, or €104.99. So yeah, it's quite a steep price for that. But again, if these can be these can have up to a discount of 25% off. That's just for the deluxe and special editions. So it does bring it down quite significantly. I mean, yeah, you really got to weigh up perhaps what is for you, I suppose. And it's also worth noting that both the deluxe and special edition will also come with a 5-day early access. And that brings us to the end of the article that we've got in front of us. But I think it's important now, just I guess, to sum up my thoughts on this announcement, because I think it's going to polarize the community. Do we really need Train Sim World 4? Probably not. Could have this been an update to Train Sim World 3? Yeah, I think it probably could have been. Does it feel like a bit of a paid update? Perhaps to some players, if the content is not necessarily for you. So the 3 routes that are coming with this, if they're not 3 routes that you particularly want, then yes, it will absolutely feel like a paid update. The 3 routes themselves, I can't say no to the East Coast Main Line, albeit it's not necessarily the portion that I would have expected to be released. You driving the Class 801 is going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to get my hands on that. The American one, I'm not a huge fan of American freight routes. It'd be fun to see what the F125 is like to drive. So I don't think I'll be driving the freight on that route, but certainly getting to grips with the passenger services. And then obviously having a new country for Train Sim World in the Austrian route, obviously bordering on to Germany, will be interesting. Not one that I would have initially thought that would be included, but I'm not against it. It'll add something a little bit different, and hopefully it really does give that commuter vibe. So all in all, is it what we expected to be released? Yes. Is it perfect? No. I think it will be down to the community to make their mind up in terms of whether the value proposition weighs up to what you get in return. For me, the East Coast Main Line and the 800 is a no-brainer. So this will be definitely one I'll be picking up, and I'll be diving into these routes a little bit further once the details are announced by Dovetail. And of course, we'll be streaming them in the future. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider hitting that like button and also subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.